Hi, anyone I haven't said hi to. I think I've said hi to everybody.
Mm.
What am I going to do when we have screens full of people coming along? Won't be able to say hi to everybody then. I have to be just a taken, won't it? Oh gosh, I hope I don't have to change my style when that happens, hey? No, I won't. That's all right, Kath. Thank you for the shaking of the head. All right, thank you, Spirit. Mmm. If I get everyone to pop yourselves on mute, please, that would be lovely. I think it's, yeah, thanks for that. All right, let's just zero in. As we do, I'm actually tempted to pick up the clapsticks. Oh, heck, I will. Here we go. Let's have a little clap. Mm. Aboriginal people say the clapsticks are used to call in the ancestors. I'm not sure if that's true for other First Nations people. When you enter an area, you use the clapsticks to announce to the ancestors, and I guess to the spirits of place as well, that you're coming into the area. Just breathe into the sound as we announce our presence to this beautiful dimension, which is this circle. Thank you for attending. It's always such a pleasure. As you clear your mind, allow yourself to become aware of your energetic body. If you breathe into your tummy and allow the energy, the prana, which you can breathe in through your crown with intent, into your pineal gland, through your heart space, into the base of your tummy. The hara is closely associated with the sacral chakra. And as you breathe out, allow that energy to flow down through your base chakra. For me, I just feel it tingling as it goes down my legs, out to my feet, down to Mother Earth. That's how I experience it. It's like a beautiful grounding feeling. And that tingling feeling at the base of my feet as my attention turns to the chakras at the base of my feet. And allow that energy to slowly build up through your torso. up into your heart space. As you take a couple of breaths into your heart space, feel the radiance. The radiance from your heart chakra. Allow it to radiate front and back, as well as side to side, as your heart starts to create a torus field around your physical body. And with intention, breathing in through your crown, feeling that energy rising up into your shoulders and down your arms, into your hands, and igniting those chakras in the base of your hands. Finally up through your neck, jaw, head, till this beautiful energy spills over like a fountain and joins the energy from your heart torus. And you become a body of light. Each cell of your body ignited, alive, empowered. Thank you, Spirit. With your intent, allow yourself to recognize the connection with your higher self, which is always there, although more poignantly when we turn our attention towards it. This connection to the spirit world, your personal connection to the timeline of spirit, the world beyond the veil. And you may wish to use those words that have become very popular for me. I wish, or I humbly ask, to receive your love. Thank you. Today, I'm led to talk about what happens when you die. Yeah. Around about this time last year, and Bill and myself and also Christine were doing a course with David Bauer on Lemurian channeling. He should run that course more often. It was pretty powerful, hey Bill? And as part of that, I started getting downloads about what happens when you die. And I know a lot of people talk about this stuff, but it was really quite interesting what Spirit showed me, or what the guide showed me, whichever way you want to look at it. And it sort of came as a result of some of the healing sessions that I've run with people where sometimes they've gone between lives, which is really kind of interesting when you're working with someone and you're telling them, okay, Spirit says to go to a past life and be there now. And I said, what do you see? And they sometimes, come up with some very interesting things that don't seem to be pinned at all to this particular earth plane. Because the kind of past lives we're looking at are earthly past lives usually. But as you know, not always. And sometimes, oh, what's happening here? Oh, okay. You're between lives. And every time, it's completely different. Yeah. What have you got? I'm not seeing anything. Interesting. Do you believe in life after death? No. Interesting. Okay. Another client. Okay. You're between lives. In fact, this particular client I'm thinking of now, I said, let's see what happens when you go between lives. She says, okay. I said, okay. Be there now. Boom. What do you got? Oh, I'm seeing my grandparents and, my dog when I was, Fluffy, when I was only 3 years old, and starts to see all these people that have passed. Oh, interesting. Okay. All right, come back. Another person seeing all sorts of religious type things. Oh, interesting. So, and then you go and read a book and it's all about, what happens after you die. There's one there, I've got it here on a bookshelf somewhere. I borrowed it about 10 years ago from a friend of mine and haven't yet given it back. I only read it once. Yeah, and it was, when you die, there's all these ministering angels who come to you and they look after you and give you a bath and all this sort of stuff. Like there's some hospital facility set up to heal the trauma that people bring through from their lifetime. Oh my goodness me. I've always been curious about this, and this is what Spirit told me, what the Spirit Guide told me. So I just offer this for your consideration. Who knows what's true? There's only one guy that came back, and look what happened to him. That we know of. Why don't they say, hey Jesus, what was it like on the other side? I don't see anything in the Bible about that. He's far too busy telling his disciples to behave themselves and don't mess up. Yeah. So, the Spirit Guide said there are 3 rooms. Okay. Now, what's the room? Even Jesus said, my Father's house has many mansions. Dimensions we're talking about here. The 3 dimensions. The first dimension, the Spirit Guide said, is the room of rumination. I thought, oh, that's interesting. What's the room of rumination? All right. This is where your soul, and we had some. I've had some interesting discussions about soul with a few of you guys who come to the masterclasses, soul and spirit, from last time we spoke about that three weeks ago. All right, your soul blueprint, your soul energy, your ego, your personality, all of your thoughts, feelings and emotions, your whole life experience. That's you. You're a soul. When your physical form passes and your soul energy, your soul frequency remains. And when someone dies, you can contact them a little bit, can't you, for a few days or a few weeks or so after they're dead. Well, their soul imprint lingers. Some people, their soul imprint lingers for quite some time. because some people don't even know they're dead yet, like that Bruce Willis movie, Sixth Sense. And it's true. I've had a couple of instances where there've been ghosts in houses that I've gone and cleared them, and it's usually people who don't know they're dead yet. There was one lady who passed away watching television, and when she got up to go to the shops, no one had talked to her. And she got really upset because everyone was ignoring her. Oh dear, poor old lass. When we communicated with her and told her that, I'm sorry to say this, but you've passed over, she got really sad and upset. So we healed her and sent her on, and the house was clear. So yeah, it can linger. But what happens is people pass over, and whatever belief system you hold as to what's going to happen when you die appears to be what you experience when you pass over into what Spirit Guide called the room of rumination. And Spirit showed me there are souls, because I suppose they're not people anymore because they don't have bodies, do they? There are souls there who spend infinite amount of time sitting on clouds playing harps, in absolute nothingness, floating in nothing, because I don't believe that there's anything here. And we know how we say higher self is so loving and so compassionate to us that it will allow us to experience whatever it is that we want to experience. Well, that doesn't change when you die, apparently. And you're allowed to experience whatever it is that you prefer. Bit of Bashar coming in there, So if you prefer fluffy clouds and halos, or you prefer nothing because you're an atheist, or you prefer to meet all your past pets, you're going to experience that. It's interesting, isn't it? Some people, apparently, this is just what came through, all right? I know you guys trust me by now. I'm only offering this. This is not Martin saying, this is what happens. I'm saying this is what I was shown. And if the truth has a ring to it, then maybe there's something here for you to also explore. Yeah. People spend lifetimes in the room of rumination. In fact, Spirit hinted to me that, let me just backtrack a little bit. One of the issues in believing that you as a soul are going to be reincarnated, the reincarnation thing, is that it is actually a soul trap. Okay. I don't want to get too deep into the spiritual warfare thing, but there's a bit of spiritual warfare going on, the balance between the good and the evil kind of stuff. Those entities which would seek to prevent humankind from ascending to the next cycle, who are those who got trapped in the last cycle. I don't know if we've spoken about this or not, but I don't want to go into it too much now. But if you want me to go into it, just let me know and I'll talk about it next time. And so imagine that the room of rumination is a real thing. And imagine that you believe that you are going to be reincarnated. Here comes Martin again. Obviously in a different body. There'll be a downgrade. But you believe that you are going to come back. Okay. Well, indeed, in the room of rumination, it's exactly what happens. In fact, Spirit did hint to me that there are some people walking around on this earth plane who are actually living a lifetime. You know, sometimes when people give up their body, and there are stories of spirits coming in and taking over. You know, someone dies on the operating table, and when they wake up, they're a completely different person. You know, they're really nice for a change, or they're absolutely horrible, whatever. Well, it is, you know, I do know that spirit invasion is a real thing because I've cleared a lot of people from spirit invasion. So there's a soul seeking to be reincarnated because they believe in reincarnation, and as it's a false kind of thing, there's a spare body. Thank you. Boom. So there are people walking around down here who are actually down here, meaning in the 3D Earth plane, who actually are believing that they're living another life down here in another body. Interesting, hey? That's a bit ethereal, I know. But do you know that movie Inception? Do you remember that one where they had dreams within dreams within dreams? And how some of those dreams were like a whole lifetime in, 3 microseconds or something. That's the kind of thing that the spirit guide showed me, where people in this room of rumination are actually living whole lifetimes that they've made up, because that's what they think is going to happen. Interesting, hey? So apparently, according to what I was shown, soul energy can hang around in the room of rumination as long as they want to, and many souls live out many different lives. Now, I know I spoke about spirit invasion before, but also Spirit said that there are instances where people can live out a life in this dimension as soul energy. Yeah, so interesting stuff. Okay, what happens next? Apparently, there's a space when people realise that they're just cycling through and through, or start to shed some of the belief systems that they have. There's a space where where the soul then moves into a another dimension of I think the word that was given me was recuperation. So after you've done with your what I expected to happen, you move into a spot where you start to reintegrate with spirit. People talk about a life review and all that kind of stuff. I don't really know about that. I mean, at some level, obviously there is a life review that goes on, and we perhaps review, because at that stage, after we've woken up to the fact that we don't have to sit on clouds with harps and things like that, we've realized that we came to this planet, to this dimension, with a blueprint, with a soul mission, and perhaps we can assess our life against that mission. Perhaps this is where the impression of karma comes from. Yeah. David Bauer talks about the blueprint of the soul as being like going on holidays, going on vacation, he'll say, because he's from Hawaii. It's American vacation. We don't have holidays, you have vacations. I think Bill's gone to sleep. Oh, there he is. Yeah, So you have vacations, and he says, when you go on vacation, you know where you're going. Planet Earth. You know when you're going. 21st century. Well, 20th, 21st, whatever. And you pretty much know what you're going to do. And you got your tours booked, you got your hotel booked, etc., etc. But you know, when the rubber hits the road and everything changes because the hotel wasn't as good as you thought it was, or it was even better, you know, like happened to me when I went to Hawaii once. My bags went to Canada, and you get back. When you get back home, up to this afterlife that we're talking about, what do you talk about? You really talk about all the things that went wrong and all the things that you learned and all the things you do different next time. And I don't think that's too different to what a life review might be like in the afterlife. Yeah, interesting, hey? And then finally, there's a dimension where a soul will reintegrate to spirit and become a part of the memory, part of the experience that your spirit, which is a part of the fractal of greater spirit, which is a fractal of greater spirit, that your spirit has experienced in this lifetime and in many other lifetimes. And I was trying to explain this to someone the other day, and I said, imagine if you go to your wardrobe and you have a look at all the pairs of shoes that are sitting in your wardrobe. Now, shoes have soles, right? Funny about that. And every set of shoes, imagine your higher self looking down upon all the experiences that you've had. And there's your hiking boots, and you remember all the adventures you had in that dimension. And there's your dancing shoes, and you remember all the adventures you had in that dimension. And there's your work shoes, and you remember all the adventures you had in that dimension, etc., etc. Each pair of shoes is a dimension within itself. When you intend to put that pair of shoes on, you intend to have that kind of experience. And I think that is a part of, I think that's a good analogy of spirit having many lifetimes, many different souls, many different experiences. But those experiences are stored in the memory of spirit, higher self. So there you go. Yeah. So as I was sitting this morning, because this has been coming through over the last couple of days, thinking, Spirit, why do I have to tell people this? And the Spirit said, because I told you to. Lovingly, of course. Because I want you to. So I don't know. It's an interesting topic, isn't it? But I would like to now just take a little break from talking and have a little drink of water and just ask anyone here that would like to say, hey, how'd that land with you? Or what do you think different about that? Go, Eva.
I'm still in it, still processing. Uh, I really like the metaphor analogy of the shoes. I'm a bit stuck in terms of all those experiences are stored in the higher self. And I got the impression that the higher self has different soul experiences. So I think, oh, well, before really thinking about it, I thought the soul was the eternal part of me kind of thing that stored those things. So I'm now being challenged or invited to think it's actually the higher self that then experience has puts on different shoes, has different lifetimes, and it's the higher self that is the sort of perpetual um, energy that uh, incarnates, for want of a better word, not reincarnates because
Mm.
that's challenged.
Hmm.
So incarnates and has a new soul experience. So I feel the biggest challenge for me is that definition of soul and higher self in terms of, yeah, that's where I'm at.
Mm. Yeah, thank you. It is. I've had this discussion with people over the years, and people say it's just semantics, and it might just be semantics in some ways. I mean, you could call it anything you like, but spirit is the like the conduit. Spirit is the electricity, the etheric presence that breathes life into every living thing, and every living thing in this description of words, every living thing is a soul, even a tree, animal, as we've said last time about totems and things like that. So it is true that you are an instance of spirit experiencing this lifetime, but your energy, your so within you there's a spark of spirit. Otherwise, you'd just be flesh and bone, I guess. But your experience, your soul frequency, your thoughts, feelings, emotions, beliefs, etc., that you've collected throughout this lifetime is, you could call it ego, but it is a soul field. It's a field of energy that has been created by spirit's experience as Eva or Martin or Bill. Yeah. And I guess I see it as really an important distinction uh, in the work that I do with people. Understanding the difference between soul and spirit is so important when I'm navigating people through the cycles and the codexes, through ancestral lines and past lives and future lives. It's sort of it's important to understand what the map is. But I think it's even more important in this time as we're moving into the age of Aquarius, moving into the ascension energy. It's even more important to understand that, and again, this is getting back to the, spiritual warfare sort of chat again. It's so important to understand the difference between soul and spirit. Yeah.
Yeah,
Sorry.
yeah. Um, so where, so does each soul experience have a different higher self, or higher self and spirit are interchangeable? That's the same thing. My my spirit, the spark that animates me and makes me more than flesh and bones, is that my higher self, or does my spirit have a higher self? And
Good
each soul
question.
experience has a different higher self, because my uh, I see my higher self as that conduit to all that is, which is
Yes.
like spirit.
Yeah.
So where does the term, again, it's semantics, and I also want to understand those semantics.
Mm, mm,
Yeah.
sure. There's a couple of ways of looking at it. And one way is, I think I touched on it when we spoke about totems, and that is that a Aboriginal guy explained it to me once. He said, "Spirit is light." Okay. Then you've got your spectrum of, you know, just go with visible light, although we know it's far beyond that. So light fractals into the 7 colors of the spectrum, and each of those colors can fractal into, say, another 7 colors, and those 7 can fractal. And it's actually this fractaling of light is actually how modern telephone exchanges work. Back in the day, we used to switch on, 2 wires would go to your phone all the way from the telephone exchange, and those 2 wires would be connected through, and they'd connect through the exchange to someone else's 2 wires. So you'd be talking over over a physical copper network, they call it. These days, that don't happen. What they're actually doing with telephony, even what we are speaking on now, is light. They're actually switching light. So that's optical fiber. Interesting stuff. So what they do is they keep fractaling down until they get finer and finer differentiations between the colors. Like there might be, the red band, but then there's a whole version of red bands, and there's a whole spectrum of red bands within that, and each one becomes a telephone call, a different voice call. So imagine that spirit is light. I mean, most, biblical texts start with, let there be light, which is interesting. There's some truth in it there. Fractals down. Okay, so you've got great spirit, which is light, which fills all, but they're fractals and fractals and fractals. And you are one of those fractals. Like, who knows how many there are? Who knows how many steps there are to great spirit? But in the end, we don't need to get to great spirit, because every fractal of light is spirit in itself, is great spirit in itself, to use the term great spirit, because we've got to remember, words are just pointers, So each one of us is connected to a fractal of a fractal of a fractal of a fractal of light, shall we say. But then the term higher self is really just a term to explain your immediate connection to great spirit, for want of that word. It's like, I can't think how else I could actually explain it. It's like grains of sand on the beach. The beach is spirit. And this is not quite right, because sand doesn't fractal, but each little soul is connected to a grain of sand, maybe, and that grain of sand is what we would call your higher self. But one other thing that Spirit showed me during this time was that there are soul families. I thought, ooh, that's interesting. People that you deeply resonate with. Here we are. I mean, there's a reason why we all keep turning up. It's and Spirit also said, within everyone that you meet, that you actually meet, not walk past in the street, but everyone you actually meet, everyone you come into some sort of awareness of contact with, is a part of your soul family. Interesting. And there are other souls, could be living in your town, who don't even notice you. You're invisible to them because you're not part of their soul family. Well, that was an interesting journey down the rabbit hole. Yeah. Does that help, Eva?
Yes, thank you. Yeah.
Thanks. Okay. Anyone else have any thoughts?
I just have one last thing. For
Yeah,
me,
sure.
I think it would kind of be a habit to change terminology to support my um embodying of it. And again, I don't need to beat myself up because it's semantics. It doesn't matter. Um, I would just like it to land.
Mm, mm.
It feels like a connection in itself when you grasp the the being in it. Like, a fish doesn't know it's in water or that
Mhm.
kind of thing until it's out of water and it realizes it's missing something. It feels like there's there's power and strength and love in knowing and wisdom that comes in knowing um you know your your web, you're part of the hologram, you're in it rather than outside of it. So you're never alone. You've got your soul family. Yeah, yeah. There's power in it for me for grasping it.
Oh, lovely. Yeah. Well, if you want to dig deeper, just give me a call and we can have a yarn on the phone about it. You can run your thoughts through. Yeah. Anybody else want to say anything about it? Hey, Kath.
This is way less cerebral, but I'd always gone with the party theory when I go. There will be a big party. It'll be so exciting. And it was funny because many years ago, a couple of times I've felt, well, 20, 30 years ago, I thought, man, I suddenly feel really old, really tired. Like, I've done this before and before and before. So I became fairly determined at that stage to do whatever became on my path to ensure that I could say, yep, I did it all, no regrets. So I would not come back. And actually, I have a friend. And if either of us put up our hand for anything, they've got to get over there and say, no, you don't want that. You don't want to go back. You want to just, you know, enjoy. But
Mm.
I have to say, when you're talking about soul families, I think I love my family, because I remember sitting there thinking one day, we've chosen through all manner of things to be in this particular physical family, in this particular lifetime. And for all their peculiarities and things we do and don't get on, I just love them even more because they're obviously that important that we've chosen to actually ensure that we cross paths in this lifetime. So
Mm.
I've always sort of, for all of their personalities, loved them dearly for that reason.
Yeah. Absolutely. Thank you. It is so, so true. They say, whoever they are, say, you choose your family. And people go, no, I couldn't have choose these people. Yeah, get over it. That's because they are the ones who can teach you the most. And we know that. We know that it's so wonderful when you get to the point of your own journey where you can accept people for who they are, or so lucky that you have a family that you didn't need that kind of wrestling with. Yeah. Cass, I saw you had your hand up. And Sigrid, you wanted to speak as well, didn't you? So did you want to go
Yes,
first, Sigrid? Thanks, Cass.
yes. For me, I think I mentioned it already in another session, um, that the song Somewhere from the West Side Story, where Tony dies in Maria's arms, this song I have sung when my brother died 50 years ago. And I didn't know why I did that, but I did it day after day. I cried. It was not a terrible crying, it was just crying. And after 50 years, I sang it together with a friend by chance. kind of. And what happened was that kind of my brother appeared, and he appeared in a different way. And he is so supportive and loving, which is amazing for me in my life as a child, as a teenager. He was at first putting me down and ridiculing me, but before he died, in his 30th, he was gentle and loving, and maybe his time was up, so to say. He had fulfilled what was his job, so to say, in his life. And he is now kind of energetically there. It's just amazing for me. It's just magic. And it helps me a lot to make the veil between this world and that world thinner. That is just wonderful. And
Yeah.
it is fascinating for me to hear what you said, what Eva said, what you all say. It is so fascinating. But I am just with this thing after 50 years, which is astonishing for me, but fascinating and wunderbar. I enjoy it.
Thank you, Sigrid. Thank you. Yeah, I had some of the best conversations with my father after he died. They were good. Yeah, very healing. It's true. Hey, Cass.
I just, if you wouldn't mind, just, I didn't quite catch what you were saying about the reincarnation, because there's this, my sisters and I have a theory, certainly one sister feel like we've been in lifetimes and lifetimes together. If you're saying, but then it sounded like you were saying maybe reincarnation isn't a thing. Could you just run that past me again?
Sure. Incarnation, as in, imagine spirit, your higher self, or your higher self's higher self's higher self, whatever. You get the idea. May well. So in this instance, you're Cass, and your sister is your sister, and obviously closely related on the family tree of higher selves. But of course, in a past life, you weren't you, and she wasn't she. You may have actually chosen to come back as relatives for some reason, or friends, or whatever it might have been, but you weren't the same people. So you were, it was a past life of both of you, of either of you. So you weren't reincarnated. Your higher self had another incarnation where there was a kindred souls, a kindred spirit, okay, who also incarnated to have another experience together. Does that make sense? As opposed to reincarnation, which is where, I will come back and I will have another life. So it's a slight shift. We've just spoken about having conversations with people who've died. We've spoken about the lady who died in a chair watching TV. Earthbound, earthbound, earthbound. Okay. One of the issues with reincarnation is that it keeps souls bound within this dimension. Okay? So you're going to be reincarnated into this dimension. You must be reincarnated many times before you can reach nirvana. All this sort of religious kind of doctrine. And it's sort of, rather than going from what we've called the room of rumination to the room of repatriation, and then reconnecting with spirit, people are sitting in the room of rumination, believing they're coming back here. And as we've said, some people actually do come back and take over other bodies, or perhaps come back and walking this dimension between the worlds. But it's sort of they're kind of therefore earthbound, I guess, bound within this particular cycle of time. Does that make sense?
So almost like so when the people talk about the oversoul, is,
Mm.
is that it? So that we go back to this oversoul, so that we think. So we think that we've been here before, but it's just a different aspect of that oversoul. So it's all part of like
Yeah,
this collective unconscious equivalent.
yeah, yeah. If you've had past lives, which you definitely have, those past lives were not you. I mean, when you were in Egypt cracking the whip over the slaves, that wasn't you. That was an incarnation of your spirit that was having the experience of dominating other people. For instance, don't ask me where that came from. Um, um, just whatever. It's funny how, but that wasn't you. You know, whatever past life you have visited and done past life regression into, that past life is not actually you. It is a past life that your spirit has had. Same way that you will be a past, you are also a past life. Excuse me. Um, and and one day, well, because time doesn't exist, another version of your spirit, another soul, may indeed be having a past life regression and visiting your lifetime as Cass. But it's not you. That's the slight differentiation, isn't it?
So we'll go back to so all things are true then. So the people that say, oh, we just go, yeah, okay. So okay. Interesting.
But forever and for always, this dimension of time within which each of us is a soul, this dimension of time, be it limited to 80, 90, 100 years, whatever, or even less, whatever, within the grand scheme of things, that dimension exists forever, because there is no such thing as time. And that's a head doer inner, isn't it? Because someone asked me, how can I go and connect with other souls that have passed? And I said, well, because they all exist contemporaneously at the same time in a different dimension. Yeah. I see Nikki's got her hand up. Hey, Nikki.
Hello again. Well, few thoughts, Martin, and I just wanted to address the whole reincarnation thing, and it's only not that this is a reincarnation discussion, but
Mm.
one of the books that kind of set me on my path 25 years ago was a book called Many Lives, Many Masters with by Brian Weiss.
Mm,
And
mm.
and in that book, it referred to, and he did a lot of work on patients that had different lives, okay?
Yes.
But what he found was that some of the phobias and some of the traumas that they had brought with them into a different time-space dimension
Mm,
were carried over from not a past life, but I guess a past life. They were carried
mm.
into this life. So
Absolutely.
and
Yeah.
and so there's that aspect, but why I also wanted to bring it up was, and Kath knows this. I was in Scotland recently and ended up at a workshop which was about family constellations, which
Oh,
ended
yes.
which ended up being related to generational trauma and
Mm,
clearing the lines of
mm.
that. So I just wondered how that plays out in the context of what we're talking about here.
Oh, absolutely.
Sorry, that's a big question, but anyway.
It is a big question. I don't know I have time to answer it fully today, but it is a big question, and thank you for asking it. Of course, you've got to wonder why we keep coming back, so to speak, if I could, because words are words, right? You wonder why. So a past life where you had something done or did something to someone else. There is a spiritual law that a spirit, a soul, must experience that which they have perpetrated upon someone else. This brings things back into balance. So in a past life, something bad happened, and that part of the blueprint of this lifetime is to undo that. I'll use the word karma, to undo that karma, to come back, and perhaps someone who was abusive in a past life chose to be born to abusive parents so that they could outwork that karma and understand from a point of view of the abused what it feels like to be in that situation. I mean, we're getting into really deep kind of stuff that's almost it's almost case by case, you know. I had someone come to a healing session the other day who's and this is ancestral, but it also explains whose great grandmother had twins that were cruelly and badly killed. There were 5 or 6 instances of twins that were born down that family line that were either born with physical issues or died at the same age that these twins had been killed. And the ancestral trauma had come down the ancestral line, and we had to clear the issue that occurred for the first set of twins that had been killed, to clear the ancestral line down to prevent the ripples of that occurring within her life, at least, if not within the lives of everyone else born under that dimension. So yeah, interesting. But the thing is, why are we talking about this? Okay, because we have complete free will. If we can create a whole lifetime in the room of rumination, for want of a better word, after we die, based on our belief system that we take through into the afterlife with our soul frequency, before our soul has fully integrate spirit. Wow. What can we create in this lifetime? And as I've been sitting here thinking about this, how does this tie in to what we normally talk about? I mean, it's almost bounding on some religious sort of kind of stuff what we're talking about. And as I say, it's just what came through to me, and Spirit asked me to share it with you people today. But, you know, how powerful are we that we could create that reality after death? What reality do we choose to create now? What reality or what beliefs are there that don't serve us in this life? Why not have the best life you can? Why not, if something today has tweaked your belief system or triggered you in some way, what is that? Why not explore that and say, okay, what's in that for me to understand. Because we do have the ability to create whatever it is that we want to create. Even if we want to go and sit on clouds with harps when we die. Yeah, why not? I mean, it might be a fun experiment to try when we die. Let's take that belief over, and I'll see a couple of the others sitting up there with your harp and a little halo, you know. But if this is true, and I say if this is true, which I personally believe it is, it's true for me. Spirit showed it to me, and still Spirit shows me something else. I'm going to say, well, all the books I've read about the afterlife and all these different things, this is the one that rings true for me. And it rings true for me because I will create that when I die. I'm not going to be ushered into some life hospital with a whole bunch of practitioners doing what a lot of the books that I've read about the afterlife do. No, I think that's far too much a human trying to explain something that is inexplainable. Really, that's what I think. And a lot of these books, they give you a hint at it. What I think we do is we create our own reality. Yeah. So let's bring it back to this lifetime, this reality, and let's create the best one we can. Let's be happy. Let's drop all those emotions and beliefs that don't serve us. Sigrid, you wanted to say something.
You mentioned the man with the harp on the cloud, yeah?
Yeah.
And there is a funny video which I have seen, a German one. A taxi driver from Munich died in an accident, and he comes into heaven and he has to sing the harp. And he is singing Hosianna, Hosianna, and after a while he gets pissed. Hosianna, Hosianna, I want my beer and not the manna, Hosianna. And when God hear him crying all this crap, he said, this guy is too loud. We must send him back to the earth. So he sends him back to Munich to bring the German Bavarian government, the laws of God. But he comes down into the Hofbräuhaus and he drinks a beer and another and another and another. And the Bavarian government is still waiting for the rules of God. That was such a funny movie. I loved it. And when you spoke about the man with the harp on the cloud.
Thank you. Alrighty. Before we end, which we should do because it's after the hour, let's just have a little tune in. Thank you, Spirit. Oh, before we do, is anyone anything else burning that they wanted to say? I didn't ask. So everyone's good?
Magic. It is just magic that we speak about it and what you are saying. And the most important for me was when you said that my connection with my brother Klaus is very healing. And that's true. It's totally healing. Thank you.
Thank you, Sigrid. Just bring ourselves into spirit. bringing back that intention to connect with our higher selves, or more accurately, to recognize that connection with our higher selves. It's like any relationship. When you ignore it, it's not really there, but it still is. That's why I think it's coming through that it's so important to have that few moments in a day where we acknowledge our relationship to spirit, to our higher self. And that love just comes flowing into your heart space. Thank you. Just for a moment, allow yourself to look up through that connection you have to your higher self and sense the enormity of the fractal of the fractal of the fractal of Great Spirit. The absolute interconnectedness of all things. Like those grains of sand on the beach we spoke of earlier. You are one grain of sand. You are the beach. You are one drop of water, yet you are the ocean. You are one soul. You are spirit. I'm so grateful for this connection. Yeah.
Sorry, Martin, I was just saying, it just struck me as you were finishing off there that, it's like this time-space reality here is like one big playground where we come to work out all our stuff.
It is.
And we're meant to have fun and learn to be joyful and sometimes learn to be more joyful than I think, what life tends to sometimes throw at us. But yeah, it's like we get the opportunity to really connect and work stuff out and not work stuff out mentally. I'm just meaning, let go of stuff. Yeah. So.
Yeah. It's hard to know what the actual grand plan is. But, doesn't matter. I often wonder, all this, speaking of cosmology, which is really what it is, trying to explain the inexplicable. At the end of the day, we might just be a whole lot of holographic images in a drop of water in a fishbowl. Who knows? But feels pretty real.